morning. I would like to welcome all of you to the September 8th meeting of the Calaveras County Board of Supervisors. Don't jump up quite yet, Darrell. Okay, and would you all please rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'd like to read the announcements from last week's meeting. There was no action taken on the following two closed sessions held on September 1st, 2009. The closed session held pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, a conference with labor negotiator, Director of Human Resource and Risk Management, Service Employees International Union, Local 1021 SEIU. Again, there was no action taken. A closed session was held pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation, two cases, Michael Nemi and Michelle Nemi versus Calaveras County. Calaveras County's course, the court case number is CV35775, and also case number CV35721, and no action taken on those two issues. Okay, turning our attention to the consent agenda. Items on the consent calendar are routine and expected to be non-controversial. However, anyone wishing to pull an item off the agenda can do so at this time, either the public or staff or the Board of Supervisors. So do I have anybody requesting the removal of an item this morning? If not, Chair entertains a motion.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda this morning. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have none in opposition, so the motion passes unanimously. Okay, we will be...
Mary?
Bye, Mary.
Mary.
Mary Sawicki. Mary.
Is she being considered?
Boy, you almost got out of here.
You didn't get away fast enough.
Close but no cigar.
Yeah.
Did you want to... Did you... Oh, yeah. We are taking a break until 9:10, whereupon we will take up public comments.
What order is it, please?
Okay, thanks for your patience. We can begin again. We are at 9:10. This is a public comments section. A reminder for you that I'm limiting this to 5 minutes per person, or per person, and 15 minutes per topic. So, good morning.
Krista Thompson, Mental Health Services Act Coordinator for Behavioral Health Services. Oh, sorry. Mic's on. I will speak up. I'm here today in honor of the 35th Annual National Suicide Prevention Week, and we wanted to come and thank the board for their support of our Mental Health Services Act plans, because without your support we would not be able to fund the amazing things that we've been able to do with our suicide prevention initiatives over the past year, and a lot of the exciting things that we're doing this week. To date, I think many of you probably have bracelets such as these. This is our Live On Initiative bracelets, and we started this a year ago with our first call for our Suicide Prevention Committee, and we got 26 respondents in the first week, and we still have 20 people on our committee going strong. It's a very passionate group, and I really want to thank them as well for their ongoing support. And within that first month, they decided They wanted to do these bracelets. And what they are is the hotline number for our crisis intervention support here locally, and after hours it rolls over to a crisis hotline team in Alameda that is very familiar with our county. And one of our moms said, you know, I would love to have a bracelet that had a really inspirational message, like live on, and the whole committee went crazy. Said, oh, that's it. And it just took off from there. And from there, it became an educational program on educating the community on risk signs and how to get help. And we have literally trained hundreds of people in our community, from county staff to other agencies in the community. We recently expanded that training program to a more in-depth hour-and-a-half-long training called QPR, which is Question, Persuade, and Refer. And in our first free community-based training using that method, we have trained over 100 people. And that was just this past month. And so we're very excited about that. We have distributed 800 of these bracelets throughout the community. We started in the high schools, and it's expanded to senior centers and also to our substance abuse programs and anyone being discharged out of the hospital for mental health related issues. And so we're just very excited. And so we wanted to thank all of you for your support, because we could not have done it without you. Wanted to thank our committee members, because we couldn't have done it without their support. And also let the community know about some of the things that were going on this week in honor of this very special Prevention Week that's happening nationwide. We have our volunteers throughout the community that are doing these public awareness campaigns, letting people know about the risk signs, letting them know how they too can be champions for prevention by keeping their eye out for these risk signs and letting people know how they can get support for others. They are in just about all of our high schools. Yesterday they were at Treats Market. Today they are at Bret Harte High School. Tomorrow they'll be at Vallecito, and also both senior centers in San Andreas as well as Murphy's. Thursday they'll be at Calaveras High School. And then Thursday night we have a very, very special event that I hope everyone will be able to join us for. It's a candlelight vigil with the theme Honor, Hope, Live On. And this will be at the Government Center gazebo, with thanks to the administrative office for letting us use that facility. And it will be at 7 p.m. And it will be hosted by local radio personality Jamie Lee. And there'll be live music by some a local jazz trio here. So I hope everyone can make it. And again, if anyone does need the support of our services, anyone in crisis may call our hotline number, and that's 1-800-499-3030, 1-800-499-3030. And if anyone has any questions about any of these events or how they can support these initiatives, they can call our office at 209-754-6525. Thank you again for your support.
Krista,
Yes.
You had a training program at the library. At
the senior center?
I don't know where it
Yeah, I
was,
think
but
that's
somewhere in San Andreas. And you were going to have one in Murphy's.
In October.
And that's in October.
Yeah, and we
You're
haven't
still
selected.
planning on it.
Yes, we haven't set those dates yet, but as soon as we do, we'll let the board know as well as the community, and there'll be some ads in the paper about that as well.
Okay. If you could just talk to me about some dates,
Sure.
because I'd like to go to.
Yeah, I'll make
Thank
sure to
you.
coordinate that with you. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. McSorley.
Good morning. Tim McSorley, Executive Director of the Calaveras Council of Governments. I have two announcements to make today. Number one is we are beginning our annual recruitment for a public member. As you may know, the COG has 3 public members, and we rotate those members. They serve a 3-year term, and so we advertise every year. So those of you in the audience and on TV that wish to participate in transportation planning for the region, we welcome your application. The second thing that I'd like to announce gives me tremendous pleasure to let you know that the California Transportation Commission, the statewide commission that is responsible for allocating literally billions of dollars up and down the state for transportation projects, will be holding a town hall meeting in Calaveras County sometime this spring, is my hope. I don't have a specific date or time at this point in time. I'm still working with CTC staff to coordinate that effort. But this is an opportunity for our elected officials and the public to meet with the CTC on an informal basis, to ask questions and discuss transportation planning, programming, and funding. So I'm really pleased to make this announcement and welcome all folks who want to participate in the process.
Tim, did you say the date of that?
I did not. We don't have that date yet.
Okay.
We're still planning that.
All right.
But this is an excellent opportunity to get the statewide folks here in Calaveras County. I'm very pleased to have that opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sandy Baker. I'm Terry Baker's other half. According to Bonnie, I guess I could be referred to as Mrs. Rooster. We'll get off to a nice quickie note here. I work, so I had to take vacation time to come up here and talk to you guys. So, we've been in this community for 6.5 years. We've participated in a lot of events. We contribute to the community. I plan on retiring up here with my husband and volunteering, and we just love it, Calaveras County. However, apparently you do know we have a rooster problem next door. My neighbor on the other side is not here. She's just as livid as to what we're dealing with. Steve, I love you to death. You've been working very hard. I feel your pain. It's business, it's not personal, but it's got to stop. You know, it's got to stop. I can't take it no more. My husband can't take it no more. This is getting very stressful on us. Physically, mentally, I get up in the morning. I get up very early, like 4:30, 5 o'clock, to go to work. I hear roosters. I come home after like 8-10 hours of work. I'm on call 24 hours a day. What do I hear? I hear roosters. I have a 3-day weekend. I can't wait to come home. I'm picking berries out in my yard to sell at the Moke Hill Craft Fair. What do I hear? Roosters. It's been my understanding that proceeding with this is being blocked because it's being considered a civil matter. If these were dogs, it would be a nuisance. It is clearly a nuisance. Judge Mohini said it's not an ag issue. It is not a commercial issue. These people are on barely 4 acres of residential subdivisional property. This is a quality of life nuisance problem. And I can't understand why the people in front of me, county council definitely included, the sheriff's department and all the other entities can't get their act together and take care of this horrible problem that's been going on year after year after year. I could not believe that I had to spend another summer with my windows shut 24 hours a day so I didn't have to listen to these roosters. And it's not just one. It's one sets off another that sets off another, and it is getting ridiculous. You know, you never see me in here before because my husband's been representing us. He is pleading to me to come in here and give you another face to listen to this horrible problem. If any one of you had a neighbor that was within a couple of 100 feet, had a multitude of these birds crowing and crowing and crowing, you would be ballistic. You would be nuts. You know, I love my house. We have a beautiful home that we bought from the violinist Kim Angelis and her guitarist husband. They left because of Carolyn Redmond and problems with them because they were firing guns off. They had habitual dogs. Now they have roosters. Kim and Joseph came from Oregon to visit us because we're still on really good terms with them. And they were like, oh my God, what the hell has happened to this piece of property? They are so glad they left. We are on a friendly basis with our neighbors, the Pennington Vieras, the Alvarezes, the Jack Tones let us constantly go onto their property and watch what's going on. We are friends with the Moffats. The only thing we have in common with the Redmonds, especially Carolyn Redmond and her roosters next door, is that every one of these neighbors hate them. It's the complete opposite. And I can't understand why this whole thing has become ineffective and is sitting at a standstill. Do I have to look forward to next summer again? Rooster after rooster after rooster. I don't know why they can't grow crops or something else. This is not an ag issue. My quality of life has so gone downhill. I can't sleep. I get up at 3 in the morning sometimes because I get called into work. And what do I hear? Roosters. Please, I'm begging you, do something. My mother and my daughter come up to visit. They're in our front bedroom. They're like, holy, you know what? I can't believe we're still listening to these. This is year after year, and we've lived there longer than these roosters. So please do something. Please give animal control and code compliance what they need to do their job, and please quit blocking them doing their job. You know, for all the money that this council and this county has spent not dealing with the problem, they could have hired another sheriff, they could have hired another teacher or another firefighter. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
My name's Mr. Rooster, and I have a rooster problem. And just like Mrs. Rooster, this is a court order from Judge Mohini, okay? Mohini, I'm not sure, but I'm going to work on it. Now, this is for Carolyn Redmond. This is her conviction on 9/11/2007. That is 2 years ago from Friday. At that time, he said that she has been in violation, that the defendant's agricultural operation, in fact, is a nuisance and it has been a public nuisance for the past 2 years. That was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Now, this is 2 years past that. She has been in violation for 4 years, according to Judge Mohini. Now, Mr. Walensky, if you can show me where she isn't guilty and she has been let off the hook and she is not in violation, I will donate $1,000 to a charity of your choice. And if you can show me that the Sheriff's Department did not falsify documents, I will donate another $1,000 to a charity of your choice. So next week, when we come in here, we either have proof that Mrs. Redmond is not in violation and she has, she's off the hook, or we kind of expect her to have been cited by then. Because how long is this going to go on? Now, all we ask is a read. This isn't what I say, and this isn't a private nuisance. Judge Mohini says it is a public nuisance, and that the defendant's agricultural operation, in fact, interferes with the reasonable, comfortable, and peaceful enjoyment of the property and life of the considerable number of defendants and the neighbors. Now, this is taken off of his word for word, off of the court trial. So if you can please help the charities out and help us out by just showing us, just show us that she's not in violation, and you'll never see us here ever again. We're gone. And you'll make money for your charities. Because you know what? I had better things to do than this also. You know, I could be donating money to charities rather than fighting this cause. I could be doing other things for other people rather than being terrorized by terrorists.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Did you say that the sheriff's office falsified documents?
About a half a dozen of them. And I have them in my car. I'll get them. And if you want to read how about the district attorney, the last page of this here? If you read the last page of this, they conveniently left out Mrs. Redmond. What happened to the conviction? We have a conviction, and it's been conveniently stuck under the carpet. Very conveniently, though, and very smooth. Now, if you can show me also that Mary Mutz didn't write a letter to Ken Churches asking him how she can say that they are doing what they're supposed to do when they're not, I will donate another $1,000 to charity. So there's $3,000 going to charity that my wife and I will bring our checkbook next Tuesday. And I'll go even further.
You don't have to.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well, just let's fix the charity.
It's just a serious allegation when you say the district attorney and sheriff have falsified documents, and I just wanted to make sure I heard you clearly.
You have one in front of you. The last page of that. Read Judge Mohini's ruling, and then read what the district attorney says. It's unbelievable. We've been living with this.
Okay, I know.
No, I hope you know. Oh, my, yeah. Sorry. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And another thing I'd like to say is last week when Sheriff Downham came in and said, we have 200 complaints from this lady. Well, you know how many we've got? We've got a conviction, and we still are complaining, and we have nothing. I feel sorry for that poor lady. She's being terrorized. She's being terrorized. She's begging for help. And then the sheriff
Mr.
comes
Baker.
in and slams her.
Mr. Baker,
My time's up.
with all due respect. Thank you. Morning, Mr. White.
Good morning. Good morning. I really didn't come here to get on your case, Russ. I want to get on a different subject. This one is cows. I am trying I'm trying to find a venue in which I can evict somebody's cows. Tom, you ought to know about this. I have a guy who's renting property next door to me. And they're a little shy of feed, they're a little shy of water. I happen to have a real nice pasture. In the last 3 weeks, I've lost a year's worth of grass because this guy will not come get his cows out. He's too busy doing something else, what have you. I've talked to him, I've called him. I'm sure if you drive down there this afternoon, you'll find 30, 35 head of cows in my pasture. It's only a 40-acre field. Now, that tells you how long the grass is going to last. It's gone. And I know that we have some kind of an ordinance in this county that says you fence in your stock. Am I correct? Okay. Well, I think it's time we get something written into an ordinance that puts some teeth into it, so that since the sheriff department is handling animal control, they certainly have the ability to go out and check and give these people, they can find out who the cows are, we all know who they are, and give them, 24 hours to get them out. I think that's reasonable. I have neighbors around me that are stock men. I call Steve Wooster, bang, he's there. He's got a cow out, he gets it. And everybody else around there. This guy has just absolutely refuses to get them out. I've run them out, I've patched fences. rodeo stock to start with, and they're just like wildebeest. When they start running, fences don't mean anything. And I've had a guy there has spent at least a week's time patching fence in the last 3 weeks. He spent all his time out there patching up these old fences. And I grant you, they're old fences, but they held cows in until I got these. And it doesn't seem to be any, I've talked to him. Oh, he was busy. He had to do this. I'll come get him. Well, that was on a Friday. The following Sunday, he come out. Oh, what can I do? Well, but then I got the dog to chase them out for about the third time, and we're patching fence. Yesterday, I went up there again. There's about 30 head of cows in there. They chomped down my springs. They just making a disaster area. I had bales of bedding straw that I used to put over grass seed when I plant. They even eat that. Now, when a cow eats bedding straw, they haven't got anything to eat anywhere else. But if there is any kind of ordinance, or one can be drafted that can put some teeth into this, because this is an ongoing thing. This guy's been all over the country, and there's 2 or 3 of them down in that area that have stock, that are wannabe cowboys, if you will. And if their cows get out on the neighbor, so what? Well, I'm a little tired of it, and I can't fault the cow. Cows get out. Cows are going to go where the food is. They're going to go where the water is. So it's got to be something to go to the owner of that stock. And I think there can be something drafted to put some teeth in it to where it costs some money. And the sheriff can certainly issue a citation. If he's got an issue of citation, there's a fine goes with it. And I'm not asking for the incidental cow that gets out. That's not what I'm looking at. But when I get them in there and they just stay and they stay and the guy won't do anything, I think it's time for us to see a different ordinance as far as controlling these things. And as the country down there develops around us, it's going to get worse. Last week, Chuck Filson, contractor down there, called me. He'd been gone about 3 days. He says, "You have any idea whose cows these are?" They absolutely destroyed his lawn. They got up there and half a mile away. I went up there, just absolutely destroyed his lawn and his flower beds in his front yard.
Mr. White.
And we still got cows.
Okay, let me give you some suggestions. Number one is you should work with animal control. If there's no feed in the pasture and they're being basically dry lotted and not adequately fed, then animal control can handle that. Secondly, if you're having a hard time with that, call the brand inspector and say you have animals trespassing on you. The brand inspector will come out, look at the brand, and contact the person and say, and tell them to get the cattle out. So if you're having a hard time with animal control, then call the brand inspector. Thirdly, there's very strong laws with cattle in agriculture that you probably, without a whole lot of difficulty, could put a lien on the cattle for the amount of pasture that they consumed or destroyed, et cetera. Let me just give you the fourth one. And the fourth one, which I actually used once, because the neighbor kept letting cattle come in. I took my cattle out of that particular pasture and just left all the gates open and notified them that all the gates would be open and they were to stay open. And if his cattle came in, they would be out on the roads or in the neighbors or whatever. So go fix the damn fence. So I don't know where you're located, but, if you have no animals in there, you can always just leave all the gates open and let the cattle come through.
A terrible liability if I run somebody's stock out on Highway 4.
Well,
guess who gets sued?
No, you're not understanding. You're not running them out on Highway Store. You're just leaving all your gates open to your property because you have no animals in it. So there are remedies. I would start with animal control. Actually, I would start with the brand inspector, and I suspect you would get a response out of the brand inspector.
Well, from everything I've talked to and everybody I've talked to at this point, it's been, hey, you're just kind of stuck with them, and hey, I'm too old to chase somebody else's cows, and I'm getting tired of it.
A fifth alternative is
I appreciate that.
Okay.
But
a fifth alternative is you can haul them down to the livestock yard at Galt and say, these aren't my cattle, I don't know who they are. When he comes to pick them up, he has to pay for the transportation, and then he has to haul them back home. And
this is a great theory.
Well,
the only problem is I'm 76 years old, and I don't have any way of chasing these cows down and getting them in a truck. I mean,
my suggestion is start with the brand inspector. Start with the brand inspector.
Well, I talked to Steve Wooster about it, and his response to me was lots of luck. He said, and so, I mean, that's why I came over here. In reality, right now, I think we're almost at a point where this stock is, they're being deprived of food and water. And so that is a matter for...
That's a matter for animal control. But my strong suggestion to you is start with the brand inspector.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know. I just want to make sure that people are aware of what's going on. And I'm not the only one down there, Tom. There's some
That's fine. I'm just telling you what your options are.
Same thing.
So.
Thanks, Mr. White.
Oh, sir, please don't leave, because I had a thought. There's also small claims court.
Yeah.
All of those neighbors who've had their properties destroyed could take these people to small claims court for reimbursement. But all of these things put into effect the thing that we were talking about last week, Steve, neighbor against neighbor. It just pisses people off and makes people angry. And the reason we can't get along is because we're getting too close, no respect, what you said, and the people that use all of these options and find nothing happening end up like Mr. Rooster, half crazy. I mean, he's 3/4 crazy. I mean, and so I can see. Well, the thing is, when dogs come and chase your cattle, you have the right to shoot them, right? When they're trespassing on your property and they're messing with your livestock, you can shoot an errant animal. Is that correct? Would these beasts be considered errant animals? Is someone going to pull out a gun and shoot roosters or cows or something? Because it sounds like it's getting crazy.
Bonnie, Supervisor Tryon went over the typical remedies.
I know.
Good to see you, Dave. Okay. Anyone else wishing to address the board on items not on the agenda? Nobody can top that.
Things are going pretty good.
Okay, great.
Who is that guy?
Who was that person? Get his name. All right.
You must not have read a newspaper in 2 years.
Completely separate. My name is Bonnie Newman from Double Springs, and I just wanted to update you that the last paycheck the healthcare providers reflected $10 an hour. I believe in the meantime the union filed a grievance somewhere along this process. So I know things will shake out in the end, but up to date, the last paycheck was $10 an hour. That doesn't take into effect that July we didn't get that pay raise, and I assume we probably would get something. It looks pretty good right now, but
I think within 6 months we have to start negotiating for a new contract. So that kind of reminds me of what the governor is saying. Because healthcare workers in California were able to retain their wages, the state told the counties to reevaluate your clients and cut hours. So in the end, what has happened is our clients, our patients, have fewer hours, and that's how they're making up the difference. Just to let you know how it's working. Governor's still not happy. He wants to eliminate the health care whole situation because it's all fraud and it's all too much money being wasted. Short of that, his next intent is to cut our wages to $8 an hour. Now, this has been an ongoing attack from the state, from the governor's office since Schwarzenegger came in, and he's determined to do this. Which brings me back to the public authority, which was supposed to help healthcare workers in obtaining better wages. If we're cut to $8 an hour, there's no negotiating for nothing. There's no union. We don't need to pay union dues. We don't need to pay public authority to do a job that we have no need for. I'm still pounding away at the public authority because I think there's some money there somewhere, some way, somehow that could make its way to healthcare workers, and I'm not quite sure how. There's too much money there that isn't being siphoned down somehow to offset the patient's care being cut, or to scare the healthcare workers into allowing their wages to be cut so that the patients maintain their hours. It's a real nasty situation, I think, and I'm not happy with the union. We're dealing with some issues there, and I'm not happy with the public authority, and I'm sure not happy with the state. We will never let down our clients. We will never let our patients down. Doesn't matter what the end result is. Most of us are caring for people in our homes, family members, or other very close people. So we're not going to give up. We can't strike. We won't strike. Our union is very different from the other unions. And I've elaborated on that. Any ideas? Had any thoughts? Because I always thought maybe at some point my board would say, put some resolution in effect and just say, you know, there's only so much money, but maybe you could send a message to the state saying how disappointed we are with the actions being taken and how short-sighted what they're doing is, and how, how concerned you are about the health of our disabled and our seniors. And maybe that's all we can do, is let people know that we're not happy with the way things are. Thanks.
Thank you, Bonnie. Anyone else wishing to address the board this morning? Okay, if not, let's go on to agenda item number 8. This is a discussion and possible action regarding a resolution authorizing the acceptance of biosolids from specific agencies at the Rock Creek Solid Waste Facility under a new acceptance policy. It's brought to us by Public Works Solid Waste. Do we have a representative from that department?
Good morning. Tom Garcia with Department of Public Works. Resolution for you is a modification of the county procedures for accepting biosolids at the Rock Creek facility. The gist of the change is to, instead of limit the amount of hydrocarbons at 1,000 parts per million, where we would not be able to accept the biosolids, this would change it to the if that 1,000 parts per million threshold was exceeded, additional testing would be done to verify that the materials are not hazardous, at which point we would accept them. This brings the biosolids into line with the acceptance of other materials from the waste, from the various sanitary districts throughout the county. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Anyone on the board wishing to ask a question of Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, a couple of issues, Mr. Garcia. One is, this is supposed to be short-term or long-term, and I wasn't clear. Well, this provides a viable long-term management. It does not rely on landfill disposal, et cetera, necessary for an alternative to be pursued by whom. I'm just throwing things out, and you can take them as the $6.33 per ton. At what point is that reviewed? It should be, not that it should be, excuse me. Would this be tied to the 5-year update of the Integrated Waste Management Plan, and how would that fit in? And then, of course, where do we go from here with these respective agencies? Thank you.
Address them as I remember them. The $6.33 per ton will be addressed as part of the 5-year Integrated Waste Management Plan update that the county is pursuing. We're developing an RFP. Hopefully we'll be getting that out in the next week or two. Hopefully to have the update completed by the end of the calendar year. The update will include a fee review, which will charge the actual cost of what it takes us to manage those wastes as they come in. This 633 has already been reviewed, and it's, I would say it's an artificial number right now. We have some better numbers, but the 5-year plan will hopefully codify those, and we'll be able to work with the districts on implementing that on a longer term basis. As for the timing of this is a current acceptance policy. This can change. The districts have made it clear that they want a long-term biosolids disposal policy for their permitting requirements, and we're willing to work with them on that. But again, our landfill is an asset to the county, and we have to secure make sure that we are serving our county residents to the best we can as well. As I understand it, there is a joint project going forward between the sanitary districts and the county to identify a biosolids acceptance facility, which will be independent of the landfill. We're very much in favor of that. The reason that we were taking biosolids was for daily cover for our existing operations at the landfill. That has since changed, since we now have some updated technology where there's a machine that goes out, tarps the facility, and it withdraws. So there's no longer the requirement for there's no longer a use for the biosolids at our facility. So they are now just disposed of rather than being an asset. There are other uses for the biosolids that the districts can, I'm sure, address better than I can, but there's reuse, processing them more so that they can actually put back into the stream rather than just being used for waste. And I'm sure that the districts can update the board if you so desire on what they're doing to pursue reuse or other disposal methods from this new facility that they're working with environmental health.
Well, then your statement about the 633 being an artificial figure, and when we complete the 5-year management plan, which I thought I heard you say should be shortly, and it turns out being 733. It could be 433, but are they cognizant that it's an artificial figure and could change?
Yes.
The
districts are aware that that number is. That's not what it says
in the resolution, though. So I just, so it says it goes to 2010, and that means it would be reviewed, or it will be, it's on the last page of the resolution. So that means it'll stay at 633 till 2010, even though
Well,
we might have an integrated waste management plan for approval prior to. I mean, I'm just throwing it out because
The
I don't want
2010
something coming back and either biting us or the agencies.
the 2010 number could work. We can adjust the fees at the next budget cycle. That might be an appropriate
So then
time
they
to do that.
would know it would be 633 till 2010.
That's correct. Our 5-year update will identify a new number, and then we'll implement it when the new budget comes out.
Okay.
Any other questions? No?
I have comments to make, but I'd like to hear from the public first.
Okay, before you go away, Mr. Garcia, I just want to ask a question, kind of going back in recent history, where this has been, as you know, kind of a controversial issue for the last several months. Please don't misunderstand, and I'm not admonishing you, but I remember that there was a sort of a board directive that your agency was supposed to get together with the other agencies to come back with a mutually agreeable solution to this problem that would specifically address the long-term issues. I've got letters here that we received previously from, particularly from City of Angels, that they cite right on the face of it that if this doesn't represent a long-term solution, then you're not helping us. So my question to you is, was there any discussion prior to this resolution being drafted with specifically the other agencies?
There was discussion with the other agencies. The discussion on a long-term solution was not agreed upon by the county staff and the agencies. There were varying opinions on the board as to what a long-term solution should be as far as the county's support for acceptance of biosolids at the landfill. Currently, we, as stated in the staff report, there are other methods of disposal for biosolids. It is not a beneficial waste to the landfill. We can't use it for daily cover anymore. Long-term disposal policies are being looked at by other departments other than Public Works. Environmental Health with a joint project to develop a biosolids disposal facility being one. Reuse by the sanitary districts being another. Long-term disposal isn't only with the landfill. There are other methods available, and that's what staff is working towards, is identifying these other methods. The other item we're looking to do is, part of the 5-year update, is addressing the actual cost for handling these materials. So as far as coordinating with the districts, yes, we've had discussions with them. They are aware that the fees are not the fees that are required for us to manage the waste stream. They are aware that there is some disagreement as to what the long-term disposal will be, although we're working together to identify what it will be. And we've been working together to identify the waste streams that we can and cannot accept.
Okay, I was at the dump last Thursday, looking specifically at this mechanism, this new technology that are looking to see it, and I didn't see it. What I did see was a large shredded tarp, or portion of a tarp, laying alongside the refuse pile. Are you actually using that equipment?
The machine is called a tarp-o-matic,
yeah,
and it does cover the landfill, which eliminates the need for us to do a daily cover.
So it was operational last Thursday?
To the best of my knowledge, it's operational. I have not been notified that it's not operational.
Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, I would like to take some public comment on this issue. Good morning, Mr. Purley.
I'm Bill Purley. I'm the Director of Utilities for CCWD, and I'm also the President of the San Andreas Sanitary District Board. And we have a couple of issues here. Yeah, we've been discussing TPH with Tom Garcia, but we haven't discussed any of these other issues. The TARP, which we were found out was purchased several years ago to take the place of the alternate daily cover. None of the local agencies were ever informed that the sludge that was being disposed of was going to be taken out of the alternate daily cover. I guess you guys paid about $75,000 to $90,000 a couple of years ago. Nobody really realized what was going to happen, but that actually eliminated the need for you guys to use this as a daily cover. The amount of sludge being generated by the agencies is approximately 3% of the total waste disposed of all those facilities. So we're kind of curious as what's actually driving all of this whole thing about going from a permanent solution in 2001 to 2002 now to a temporary solution. Forward landfill, if we go to an outside landfill, is approximately $38 a ton. We've all looked at that. If we're going to invest in a regional sludge facility for San Andreas right now, we're looking at $1.3 million. So all this stuff is coming out of, there was a comment made is we have to protect the county taxpayers. Well, the county taxpayers also are the ratepayers for all these sanitary districts and also for the city of Angels Camp. So the ratepayers are actually the same people that are going to be paying more money to take this sludge out of the county right now. But that's just basically what it is. Like I said, we've been encouraging the board to direct staff to meet with the agencies and to go over some long-term solutions and things like that. And we're still waiting to hear on this stuff here. But it's basically where we're all coming from. We just keep getting stunned every time we see short-term. The resolutions clearly in 2001, 2002 had no mention of short-term solutions on those at all. And I hate to tell you, it's like, once again, we had long-term contracts that we all terminated back in 2002 with Forward Landfill because the county passed a resolution to take all the solids inside the county, and that's what happened. Now, we can go back to that, but it's increased our costs up to $38 a ton. So the same people that are being paid, paying county taxes, are going to be paying more money for disposing of the sludge. So, I mean, that's basically where we're coming from. But we'd still like to encourage that the staff meet with us and go over this stuff. $1.3 million for a regional sludge facility is a lot of money for the ratepayers in this county here. We also have been discussing with the county the regional septic facility. Well, if we can't take the sludge to the county landfill, then what are we going to do with it? So it kind of defeats the purpose of keeping everything inside of the county here. So we might as well just basically write that off, because what we were doing is we were looking at around 6 or 7 cents a gallon disposal fee at Oakland with regional septic. We could have produced one for maybe 10 cents a gallon. If you're going to boost the rates, which we've been given a preliminary estimate, maybe $54 a ton, then you're looking at 12, 15 cents a gallon for sludge, for septic, and there's no way that we can force the local people to take that, so there's really no reason to further discuss the regional septic facility. So, I mean, those are just some of the points that we have here. I think some other people would like to talk to.
Before we ask for other comments, Bill, you mentioned a moment ago the figure 3%. That I'm not sure, that kind of went over my head. That this particular material represents 3% of what?
The total waste in that landfill. That actually came from Bob Kawasaki's original memo that he wrote to the board back in 2001. It was Rob Hooten. In fact, I can produce a copy of that too. I just didn't bring it with me today. But we researched all this stuff here. It was real clear. Fred Burnett and Bob Hooten were working on getting this thing set up for years. People had meetings with the citizens of Milton for a long time, probably a year or two. It was finally worked out upon. It went through on a 3-2 vote. I'm very aware of this whole situation. And actually, to be honest, any change in landfill operations, the people in Milton were also supposed to be notified of that. The topping, like I said, caught everybody by surprise. Nobody realized that what you guys were doing over there was telling us basically that you weren't going to use this as alternate daily cover a couple of years ago and then switch to machine. I mean, it would have been nice if somebody had given the districts a heads up. I think that's what the biggest problem here is we just, every time we turn around, we keep getting something stuck in our face. And from the San Andreas point of view, you're looking at $1 per month per ratepayer over there increase if we have to go to an alternate disposal. And that's coming out of the same people's pocket that pay the money to the county. So we're kind of a little disappointed that it's heading this direction. We appreciate the fact that you're going to open up the landfill again with this resolution, so we're very appreciative of allowing us to use the landfill. But the long-term solution, we have to work on something. We don't really have anywhere to go. If we're forced to go to a private landfill, it's going to cost people a lot more money.
Supervisor Walensky.
While we've got you up here, I'm hoping to get an answer to this question. How many sewer hookups do we have in this county at this point?
Oh, I don't know.
I know there's many agencies involved.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you add them all up, what do we amount to?
Probably get about 10,000, something like that. You get about the biggest problem with there's two problems with what's going on here. Is one, you have approximately 17,000 septic tanks out there. And what we were working on was to come up with some sort of regional septic treatment facility so that they didn't have to truck the septic down to Oakland. And we were going to site something at one of our CCWD's facilities. The only problem is that was based upon the fact that we were paying money to take it to the county landfill. If you're going to take the sludge from the county and take it down to, Stockton, wherever we'd have to, we're defeating the whole purpose of that. So you get not only are you affecting the 10,000 sewer connections, but you're also affecting 17,000 other residents who have septic tanks who will now not going to have the ability to service them. And yeah, we're working with the State Water Resource Control Board right now on a regional septic facility, and tomorrow at CCWD we have an agenda item which is asking the board to approve the staff to work out some sort of MOU between the three agencies to get this thing going, because San Andreas, as you know, we get stimulus money over there, and we are eligible for funding for the regional sludge facility over there. And classified as a disadvantaged community, it allows us to get much better rates, and that's why we would site the facility at San Andreas if you really want to know the truth. So that's kind of what's going on. But, we're being forced to do this at $6.33 a ton, or even maybe 10 or 12 bucks a ton. It's not economically feasible to our benefit to build a regional sludge facility, because it does cost money.
Any other questions of Mr. Perley?
My name's Carol Wolf. I'm the Chief Plan Operator, City of Angels Camp. And I do have some questions. We do, and I believe you have a copy of the letter that was sent to Mr. Garcia with CC to the board here from Tim Shear regarding our questions. And as of yet, we've had none of these questions answered. I heard it spoke that there has been conversation with the various agencies. My question is when did that happen and with whom? Because to the best of my knowledge, and according to Mr. Shear, we haven't had any conversation. And so some of these things, we're just asking. We have questions. And I do agree, too, this is showing a short term. We have a long-term agreement. And I know CCWD's letter is somewhat different from the City of Angels. However, basically, our agency feels like we made an agreement and the agreement should stand. And I know there will be negotiation. However, I'm just speaking what the administrator put out there. And the other thing is that if the original resolution required public notification, and I noticed that it says none of this notification needs to be out there, then why did the original resolution require public comment and a time period to look at these things? We do feel like it would be appropriate for that notification to happen. And just like I said, just speaking again, that we have not had conversation. We did send a letter, and nothing's been addressed. No answers have come back to us as to how these things came about and what those things, questions to the original letter from July 23rd that we received. However, I will say that the reason we're looking at a regional sludge facility for the biosolids isn't because of this. It's because we think it makes sense for us to look at these things together, and if it's doable and it makes sense and affordable for our county, because the whole intention is to keep our ratepayers from going broke, and to try to keep within the county too, rather than going to other counties. I do know that there is the recycling requirements, be it your glass, aluminum, cardboard, and the requirements for landfills. And I do believe that there is also the biosolids as being used gives credit to this county. And that was another question. Is that true? I actually, during a upgrade of our treatment facility, and it was with a contractor who was removing it as we were upgrading, and so we were unable to do our solids. They did take it to forward, and I was actually contacted by county that said, why didn't you bring it to us? Well, the reason is I wasn't in charge of that. It was a part of the upgrade, and they took it to forward, and forward got credit for that. So my question, and our question was, what is that credit the county also receives for the use? Are there any questions?
Any board questions?
I'll ask the same question I asked the previous speaker, which is how many sewer hookups do
We
you have in
have
Angels?
approximately 1,700 hookups for the City of Angels. Our population is right around 3,400. We just popped over that little 3,300 mark where we could get a little bit of... However, yeah, we have about 1,700 hookups.
Out of how many houses? Out of how many houses?
I would have to look at that as far as...
So
these are sewer
1,700
hookups.
sewer
And so it would
hookups.
include also any
Well,
businesses.
it's just-
So that's our overall. Now, as far as homes, but I don't know about San Andreas and the rest of it, Calaveras County, but Angels Camp does not have any type of heavy industry or, it's primarily residential and food establishments, that type of, we don't have any type of industry that would be considered heavy metals, et cetera, type things. And we do meet all the Title 22, 503 regs on the biosolids and the testing, and, Would I like to use my biosolids for another use? Absolutely. However, we made a long-term agreement, and the long-term agreement was so that we could bring the biosolids to the county, to the facility at Rock Creek. And we would just like to be a part of the negotiation and conversation. And we just basically got out of the blue. We do have a letter that came from Ron Jensen that says, we received it on the 27th of, 27th of September, and it gave us till August 3rd to reply. We did reply, but we haven't heard anything since. I have some draft things here, but of course it said draft, but we replied with our questions, and we haven't had any of it answered.
Since September 3rd, you mean? You had a July letter, you had a response from the county.
I'm sorry, I said September. Okay, July 23rd is the dated from Mr. Jensen. We received it in our office on July 27th, and it told us by August, and I'm sorry, it was in August, that to submit no later than August 3rd. If we have, however, if any additional time is necessary, we did call and say, hey, basically we got it on at the end of the week on a Friday that we see it, and you're telling me by Monday or Tuesday, whatever day that was, give me an answer to what your concerns are, and we did do that. However, like I say, and the other thing Mr. Shears, that this came to Tim Shears, and that's into the City of Angels. But who else was contacted? Was this board contacted? The other agencies aren't listed as being CC'd on any of this. We just had questions, and none of that's been answered for us to this point.
Okay, Ms. Wolf, the letter that you're talking about that came from Tim Shear to Tom Garcia, that's the one that's dated August 6th?
August 6th, yeah.
Okay.
But we did contact Mr. Jensen and said, yes, we do have questions, and no, we can't, like I say, put it all together in that amount of time.
Okay, could you elaborate a little bit on, you made a statement that we are, you looked over to the side and you said, we are talking about creating a facility that would be an alternate place to dispose of these biosolids. Can you expand on that a little bit?
If it's appropriate and doable, like Mr. Purley here, CCWD, Angels Camp, and San Andreas, our council, one of our committees, they said, yes, let's pursue this. Let's see if it is doable. We are not opposed to that. And if it is a doable thing, to me, I think it's the cooperation of the agencies together is a good thing. However, we don't know, but we are investigating it. We're looking at it. Is it something we can do? Is it cost effective? Are there other benefits that could come out of that? But we're looking at it because we think it makes sense to look at, not because we think our existing agreement should go away. But so it's these three agencies that we're looking at it with. However, it would be anyone within the county. Not everyone has biosolids to dispose of annually. We do.
Okay. There was a statement that came from some report that former Director Kawasaki gave, and it said that 3% of the total waste stream out at the solid waste facility conceivably could be biosolids. That seems like an enormously huge component. I'm very, maybe it's because my name is Thomas that I tend to doubt things like that, but anyway, can you tell us what Angels, in an annual basis?
Our amount of biosolids that we disposed of, from what we calculated, I believe, to the landfill last season was right around 306 tons.
306 tons. Okay.
And you have to think, we have a requirement to have our biosolids at no more than 50% moisture. We choose to, and so there's also the moisture factor you have to, so whether the weight has to do also with what the moisture content is. Landfill requirements require that it's at least 50% dry. I try to have mine much drier than that, because I pay the tonnage on the truck that hauls it too. So,
okay.
But so if you want me to convert into cubic yards, I'd have to spend some more time on that to do the yards rather than tons.
Well, the trucks that go out there, on balance, I mean, they're not doubles, so they're hauling no,
they're not doubles.
They're less than 20,000 pounds, or say a maximum of 20,000 pounds.
Well,
10 tons per
for instance,
truck.
I have 3 loads ready to go out right now. However, I've only delivered, I think now maybe 5 loads to the dump and I'm almost empty. So the trucks that we are using, I believe they hold 15 yards. Yeah. So if you go 15 yards times 10, that's 1,500 yards, approximately, and then I'll be pretty much empty.
Okay, but that, going on a tonnage basis, you are not sending more than about 30 trucks a year
It's
to
not
the
even
dump.
30, yeah.
Okay. All right, I'd be curious about how much CCWD seems like that they would be taking proportionately larger amounts than that, but...
Yeah, you'd have to speak to Bill about that.
Yeah, I intend to. Okay. Any other questions of Ms. Wolf? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we have three CCWD board members here this morning, so... Good morning, Bertha.
Good morning. Good morning. Bertha Underhill from Ebbets Pass. And I do want to make one comment, and I want to thank Russ, Marita, and Gary for going up the hill to celebrate with us in Ebbets Pass for our logging jamboree. And you can ask Marita later how she did in the competition. But anyway, I'm here, and I'm hearing two issues here this morning, and one concerning the sludge, and the first has to do with the original agreement that was, or the original resolution that was agreed upon by the Board of Supervisors and CCWD and the rest of the agencies, and that's concerning the word long-term disposal of sludge and whatever you call that stuff. And I think the word long-term gets in the way of things because I want the board to understand that we are governed by or regulated by the State Water Resources Control Board, extremely tough, and that is something we have to have. We have to talk to them in terms of long-term. And so that's what we're asking right now, that we do not fall back from that agreement that we made in 2002. Was that 2002? And I hope you will understand what all the agencies are up against. The other issue that we have is the fact that because we understand that you have to have such control over your landfill, that we will look at another option, and that is the one that City of Angels, San Andreas Sanitary, and CCWD want to go forward in, and that is, Bill mentioned that, it is on our board agenda tomorrow to take a look at an MOU so that we can explore that avenue. It looks very, very positive. It looks very, we have everything in place so that we can come up with a plan and go forward so that we don't have to come to your landfill. Because as I asked Marita just the other day, how is the landfill doing as far as all of the requirements that the state has imposed on the county? And she said, you are doing well, and we don't want to jeopardize anything. And so all I'm doing is I'm here saying, please, let's think long-term. And I appreciate, I've never met Tom. I appreciate what he said this morning, but I want there to be just real close collaboration between the agencies. And as I say, it's very, very healthy that you're hearing from 3 of the agencies this morning, all coming together, all making the same plea. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Davidson, CCWD also. I'd just like to add a little bit and hopefully maybe clarify what my concerns are. Primarily, that this short-term agreement, if we're not clear on what we're going to do in the future, we should just stick with the agreement we currently have until we are clear. So I would hope that'd be the direction you take, and then we can maybe work together with the agencies to form a long-term plan. The reason it's so significant is, the septic receiving facility is something that I've had on my wish list for about a decade, probably a little bit more than that actually. And this, what had been proposed previous, increasing the sludge fee, effectively wrecks that. And that's important to everybody with a septic tank in the county. The state is moving toward stricter regulations and inspections and things of that nature. Currently, if you're going to sell your house or if you have a septic problem, the pump haulers come out in a small truck and clean your septic tank out. Then they take it to a larger tank that they can pull behind a semi, and then they take it all the way down to Oakland. And I think that, that it's that additional trucking that's driving the cost up. So that, this is something that we can actually do to reduce people's, financial burden, and that's, we don't get those opportunities very often, and I think that also if you just, the economic opportunity to have a few more people employed in the county, have a few more local septic haulers, perhaps be a little bit more successful. I think those are all important things, particularly now. Plus, if we can build this facility, it could be, it would be a $3-4 million project, which would employ, many other people. So I mean, this fee increase has got a significant snowballing effect, and so I would hope that we would just stay where we are until we actually know where we're headed, instead of just doing something on an incremental basis. So with that, I would just hope that you would hold with our original agreement. Thank you.
Mr. Garcia, you've returned.
I have returned. I would just like to remind everyone that what we're talking about is a change in the policy for the acceptance of biosolids. That's the only thing that we've been talking to the districts about currently. These long-term plans, those are discussions we intend to have. The cost to manage the biosolids is another discussion that we have. Right now, we're taking the baby steps. We're trying to loosen the regulations, allowing them to operate in a freer manner so that we can accept the solids that they generate currently. All these other fee increases, whether or not we accept them or not, those are things we intend to work out with the districts. Right now, again, all we're doing is loosening the regulations, allowing them to operate. And I'd like to clarify that everything else that we're talking about is things that we'll be in discussion with the districts over. But this one item is beneficial to the districts and to the landfill. Thank you.
Before you go away, I'd like to just get a clarification on that. Director Davidson just said that until we can work out long-term solutions and work out fees and everything, that we have a current agreement. We have a long-standing arrangement. Just for the sake of discussion, why not just leave it like it is until we can fix it all at once instead of piecemealing it and not getting quite where we need to go?
If we did not change this item, then the districts could not dump some of their biosolids at our landfill, and that's been a huge issue. That is the one issue that they highlighted as needed to be fixed right now, and that's why we're before the board right now, is so that they can do their operations. This was pretty much agreed upon by representatives of at least one of the districts that had the largest problem, and county staff. So we were working with them closely to try to hit their hot button item first. These other items, again, we're going to be working with them on.
Is the $633 the standing fee that's not being replaced? What we're currently?
Not with this resolution. We are going to be looking at it. Currently,
so that's current what we're charging, $633.
Right.
Okay.
And what we have looked at, and some of the numbers that have been thrown out back and forth between staff and some of the districts, it costs the county about $50 to $54 per ton to manage waste, to bury it. So somewhere between $6.33 and $54 is the magic number. And that's what we'll be working with the districts on.
Mr. Lawton, did you want to weigh in on this?
I just have a couple of questions
Sure.
for Mr. Garcia. Tom, the county's fiscal year 9-10 budget, what is the acceptance fee per ton for biosolids assumed in that budget?
$6.33.
And that's good until June 30th, 2010?
That's correct.
No matter what happens with this resolution?
Correct.
And so you're pursuing this resolution because it's the department's belief that you don't have the authority right now to receive the biosolids in the manner in which, or the quantity in which they're being sent. Is that correct?
In the manner, correct.
In the manner. Okay, you can't apply it in the manner. And between now and June 30th, 2010, if this resolution is approved, what would you be up to with the districts?
We wouldn't be implementing any new fees until the new budget year, so we're still at $6.33.
But what would your interaction be with the districts between today and June 2010?
Negotiating with them the quantity of the biosolids and the cost per ton of those biosolids.
Is there a cap to the amount of biosolids the landfill could receive, setting aside for a moment the cost? It's approximately 3,000 tons that are generated a year?
We accept currently about 3,000 tons per year.
Okay.
No,
you
there
could
is no
continue
cap.
accepting 3,000 tons a year?
That's correct, if it met the requirements for being a non-hazardous material. That's what we're trying to clarify.
Okay. Thank you.
I have some comments I need to make. This all started about 10 years ago when Simon Granville came to the board and said, we have an issue with disposal of the solids, and county, could you please help? And so we came up with what we did. Maybe went too fast, too slow, doesn't matter. This was a decision. I have to remind Mr. Purley, this was not a permanent solution. It was agreed to when Simon was here. It was to be a temporary solution. And Jeff Davidson succinctly said that, you know, he's been talking about a septic disposal facility for about 10 years. We have talked about it. We talked about doing something joint with Amador County. I mean, this has been an on-again, off-again topic. We worked with San Andreas on the Simon Moose, and San Andreas, and we had a Simon Moose truck or whatever that facility was. San Andreas chose not to do it. So this is a temporary solution, and I believe it was mentioned that the cooperation of the agencies is a good thing. It is. You know, so, okay, maybe the county didn't tell you that we're going from using solid waste as a cover to tarps as a cover. Okay, but this is where we are today. And today we have a resolution in front of us that is moving us forward on a temporary basis. The issue, as Jeff Davidson said, is still trying to find a way to do it. We talked about in the past of tying it into one of CCWD's plants because they have the facility and because of the cost or whatever reasons. Topics become hot and they're not hot. And I think, you know, Bertha said we can't let the word long-term get in the way of the discussion. She's correct, we can't. But that's something as agencies, the three of you and the county, need to talk about. We do need to find a long-term solution. But I want to remind people this was all because CCWD came to the board and said, we're having problems. I don't remember, maybe Jeff does, on what the issues were at the time on why we agreed as a county to accept them. Okay, so we're accepting them. We know we have something in place till 2010, and I'm assuming that there will be cooperation from what I'm hearing of all the agencies, and we have time to work on it. Another issue that had come up, and I can't remember if it was, we were just talking about dealing with CCWD's, one of their plants, and circulating water disposal through them. The plants, as people have septage removed every 5 to 7 years, and the cost of doing that versus the cost of making an improvement in a CCWD plant really didn't make sense. So it then became a back burner item again. Because if you're only having your tank pumped every 5 to 7 years, and you're going to then pay $500 versus $425, it didn't pay to encumber the ratepayers or the people that would be using the facility to set up a facility in cooperation with CCWD. So, I mean, this has been an ongoing topic, but I need to clarify, this was never going to the landfill, a permanent solution.
Bertha, could you come?
Yeah.
Thing that I don't quite understand, and that is a comment, where do you go? Oh, back there. I think maybe we need you up here, because what I don't understand is Tom's resolution is formed because there was a statement made in some other resolution that said that we would stop, that you, the county, would stop accepting our biosolids. Is that what I heard?
No.
Well, why did it come up then?
Why did, I'm not
Why
Tom,
the big
Tom
change?
can answer that question for you.
Why the big change?
I don't know why it came up as part of this resolution. This resolution was only to accept biosolids and clarify how we accept them. How it got moved to this other area is really beyond me and beyond the scope of this resolution. We are committed to working with the districts on biosolids acceptance policies, the amount, the quantity, the quality, and what they test out at, and the cost. We're committed to working with you on that. All we're doing now is trying to make it easier for you to transport and deliver these biosolids to the landfill.
Well, let me jump in here for a second. I mean, the story or the communication that I've been getting loud and clear from all of the agencies is that they have a requirement for the State Water Quality Board that they've got a long-term arrangement for disposal of their biosolids. They had it with other agencies. They came to the county, and the county gave them an alternate arrangement for a long-term solution. No. Marita, you keep insisting that it's a short-term, but there's nothing in the resolution that we're operating under right now that calls it a short-term solution. Otherwise, the agencies would have been out of compliance. Am I on the right track here?
I personally wrote the letter to the State Water Resource Control Board in answer to a notice of violation that CCWD was issued on no long-term sludge disposal plan because the county passed a resolution giving us. Tom's right. The main change in this resolution today is to relax the limits on the TPH. But the problem that the districts are having is we can't go on a short-term solution basis. We need a long-term. If you're going to tell us that the resolution doesn't stand, then we're technically out of compliance with all of our permits right now. Because a long-term plan with the state of California is 20 years. It's not 5 minutes. And I've been here long enough. When I was through the meetings with Milton and all the rest of that stuff, I have never in my entire life heard the term short-term temporary. We would never have done what we did and terminated our contract. We would never have gone to the county landfill. It wouldn't have been to our benefits. But I remember I personally wrote the letter to Scott Crandall at the regional board telling him that the CCWD's long-term disposal plan was a Rock Creek landfill. So I guess what I should do is we will continue the efforts working with the 3 districts on coming up with a long-term disposal plan. Septage is a completely different issue. I mean, we're kind of in a binder. If you're going to tell us we can't do it, then we're going to have to come up with our own solution. That's why we talked to the State Water Resource Control Board, because obviously San Andreas has already got their foot in the door with the people with the bags of money in Sacramento. So we're trying to get some more money for the community. But then again, you're going to come back to how much is it actually going to cost these people. But why, and like Carol said, why should we not want to go along with the original agreement long term? We agree with Tom's change on the TPH. That's great. It's great. It's non-hazardous. We can do the bioassay testing. So we encourage that gets passed, but we also disagree with the term short term on this.
But it seems, we'll get to you in just a second, but it seems to me that if we pass this resolution, right, we are immediately putting in jeopardy because the resolution has short-term language in it.
Well, you could take that language out.
I'm very disinclined to support the resolution as it's presently written.
We need the resolution to pass because we need to be able to move that sludge in the landfill right now. But we also, like you said, we've encouraged you guys to remove the language on short-term solution.
Okay. Now, maybe we can get a clarification. Marita and I are in disagreement on, she says that the current agreement that we have with the districts it says on the face of it that it's temporary. I read it. It's not. It does not say that. Okay, Mr. Lawton, you had a comment.
I'd like to call Mr. Garcia back to the podium for a few more questions, and County Council will certainly admonish me because I'm going to ask some questions I don't know the answers to.
Uh-oh.
Tom, there's about 3,000 tons of biosolids that are brought to the landfill each year from the districts. Am I in the ballpark on that?
Yes.
Okay. And we have been receiving biosolids at the landfill as daily cover in the past. Is that correct?
Until we yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And were all 3,000 tons used as daily cover?
No.
Okay. So we were accepting some as daily cover and some were they were going into the landfill? Was
Correct.
that the idea? Okay. And it was all being accepted at $6.33 a ton?
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything in this resolution, setting aside for a moment the cost, is there anything in this resolution that would prevent the landfill from accepting 3,000 tons next year, the year after, and the year after that?
No. And if I can go to the line that seems to be causing the problems, the only thing that is short-term.
Well, what line are you on?
Page 2?
Page 2,
line.
first paragraph.
The last line, the last paragraph.
Okay. The $6.33 a ton.
That's correct.
Okay.
That is the only short-term issue.
Now, let me ask you another question. That tipping fee of $6.33 a ton was based upon the assumption that the biosolids received were not going to be treated as waste, but were actually kind of a tool for the landfill. There was a consideration.
There was some beneficial use.
There was a beneficial use.
That's correct.
In using it as daily cover that justified the $6.33 a ton.
I won't go that far, but it helped to justify it.
Okay. We don't use it for daily cover anymore.
That's correct.
Okay. We have another method of addressing those needs. So the biosolids are now received as landfill waste.
As waste.
And you've got an approximate cost of, what is it, $54 a ton was the maximum I think we have been talking about. There's a spread between $6.33 and $54.
It costs us $54 a ton, thereabouts.
Okay. How does that compare with any place else that receives biosolids? Do you have any idea?
To my understanding, the landfills that I've been associated with and that I've discussed with, they do not accept biosolids as daily cover. They are all using automated.
Okay, so I'm saying if they accept biosolids, it's 54. Are we talking about 54 a ton and everybody else is doing it for 20, or the others doing it for 75, or it's about in the ballpark?
That's what I hope to address in the integrated waste 5-year update.
Okay. So, but from this point, from this resolution, if this board adopts this resolution tomorrow, you'll still be able to accept 3,000 tons a year, and until 2010, it's at a rate, essentially a guaranteed rate of $6.33 a ton. Your budget did not assume 54 a ton. Your budget assumed $6.33 a ton for this year. You're not trying to close a gap in this year's budget by jacking the rates up.
That's correct.
Okay. And you will negotiate, if this is adopted, you will negotiate and discuss with the districts a cost for the for biosolids that are received as landfill.
That's correct.
And the total difference, a ballpark on the 3,000 tons a year between $6 and the 54, which would more or less be the max, total countywide for the disposal of these biosolids works out to how much?
About $144,000.
Okay. I apologize for taking up so much time, but I wanted to try and get some facts out on this.
I understand. Supervisor Walensky, a comment?
Yeah, I don't have questions. I just want to get on with the business here. First, I do think that we had a clear problem, which was we were going to be unable to accept this without doing this resolution, so I favor the resolution. But because people have expanded the conversation rather significantly beyond what's in front of us, I have a few thoughts to share. It seems to me that we have a a conflict between two perfectly reasonable perspectives. One is from the agencies. They want to be able to provide the services to their ratepayers at a rate that they can afford. And on the other hand, we have a county that has real costs and real responsibilities to its citizens and taxpayers and ratepayers for other things. The problem here is that we're arguing about the symptoms, but the root causes in my mind are twofold. Number one, we're not getting any benefit. We're simply wasting it all, so the costs really do run maybe at 54 or somewhere in that neighborhood. There's no offsets. Other more innovative operations are actually turning a profit off of this waste. Milwaukee marketed nationally Milorganite, which is lawn fertilizer used widely around the country, and that's made a pretty good offset to their 54 or whatever the cost was there. But I'd say we have another problem, which is I keep on harping on, and I'm going to do it again because I got some people in the room that could do something about this. It's good that you're talking about cooperation between agencies. But when you have a total of 10,000 hookups, the idea that we have the overhead to run that many agencies available and still be able to keep rates low is simply not real. The numbers aren't real. And if our numbers are real for $54 cost and what we're charging is $633, it would be extremely irresponsible of us to continue to go bankrupt because the configuration of our water and sewer agencies is so balkanized and so in pieces. Most places have economies of scale far beyond what we have here, even if we were to have consolidated everything into one operation and one overhead and one administrative apparatus. It is not responsible and it's not real for us to deal in fake numbers. And it's not responsible for those that intend to provide decent services to the citizens of this county to subdivide ourselves into so many little pieces that none of them are economically viable to the economy of scale necessary to do a minimum reasonable rate. So I really think that the conversation needs to get a little bit more serious about, we're not going to be able to negotiate in the current configuration something that fits both reasonable perspectives, that reconciles it. I'm familiar with negotiations, and it gets to a reasonable compromise somewhere in the middle. But if one or the other party or one of the other groups of parties has to go bankrupt as a result, it really isn't a very good resolution. It's not something that people are going to support. So maybe we ought to start thinking about more the construct in which we're doing business than the effort to keep doing business in a way that can't possibly pencil out. But I do support this resolution because I do want somewhere local to put this stuff.
Supervisor Tryon.
I'll just give my comments. Number one is I support the resolution if in that one sentence people are concerned about. I don't see where it basically says that this is short-term necessarily, but you could change it and say, be it finally resolved that the above-named agencies are again strongly encouraged to investigate alternative long-term disposable alternatives, which would imply that this is a long-term alternative, but we want you to investigate alternative ones and not just rely upon Rock Creek. I would like Tom to come back up because I have a couple of questions I'd like to have. It seems to me you're hanging a lot of your recommendation on the end of that sentence, which is options that will allow beneficial reuse of biosolids. It seems to me what you're wanting to do is get away from the 3% of capacity at Rock Creek annually that goes to biofuels, and that you feel there's technology out there to allow for a beneficial reuse of biofuels. I mean, if we can take biofuels, then the question is, well, why don't we just take them like we take household...
Biosolids.
Biosolids, excuse me, they say biofuels. Biosolids.
Everybody was scratching their head.
I'm sure the technology will be made
I'll
sooner
start
or
on
later,
cap
but
and
it's
trade
not available.
We'll use it to go to the moon.
Yeah, but is this really a capacity issue and trying to save on capacity?
It's more a cost-cutting issue. The fewer biosolids that are delivered to us, the less cost it'll be to the
because of the subsidy.
Districts. Well, to the districts. The less they have to pay us to accept them, the cheaper it is for them to operate. The landfill, where we're always looking to reduce the waste stream into the landfill to stretch out its life, we've only got one, and they aren't permitting landfills regularly in the state.
I can see the argument that if it's costing us $54 a ton on 3,000 ton, which is $162,000, and we're charging $6 a ton, that obviously we have a huge cross-subsidization from the solid waste fund to the sewer districts. I'm not really in favor of that. I mean, we're operating solid waste in a deficit position. We're going to have to talk about going out and asking for a fee or tax increase to fund the increased cost now of solid waste. It doesn't seem to me to make any sense to say, well, let's add $2 on or $1 or $3, whatever the number is, so that we can subsidize sewer rates in the solid waste fee. So I think people should pay what the cost is for disposing of the material. But I want to get back to this, this beneficial reuse, because it seems to me you're hanging a lot of importance on that. What is the beneficial reuse that would basically say it doesn't have to be disposed of at all, and what would the cost of that, of a reuse process cost?
Other counties have used, I'm sure the districts can speak better to this, but other counties that I've worked with have used biosolids for everything from fertilizers to residential potting plants, potting soil, things like that. There are, as long as the metals and the like are contained, then there are other uses, commercial and residential.
Does it require additional processing?
Testing. It requires some additional processing, additional drying, but
I remember when I was a boy that they just brought the sludge straight and they put it in the front yard and we shoveled it in and then they planted grass seed. I remember when I was at the University of Chicago in '72, I had a cousin did the same thing in a suburb of Chicago. I went out and helped her one weekend. They just hauled in the sludge and dumped it, and we turned it over and mixed it into her front yard so she could plant grass seed. I was told that you could not do that anymore.
Without some processing, and again, I'll let the district.
So there is a processing cost to get it to be
additional drying and then testing.
We used to on septic dump it in fields and plow it in just as a fertilizer. We can't do that anymore. We used the Josie Ranch for that for many years before we were stopped from doing that. So it seems to me there's some additional processing. The question is, what's the cost of that processing? Is it more than $54 a ton?
I can't answer that.
You said we're looking at, actually, to be honest, beneficial use of sleds has never been cost effective ever, but the problem we're looking at right now is the original estimate we had was around $2.5 million to put in a drying mechanism that would cover San Andreas, Angels Camp, and then CCWD, and then any of these other small agencies. Because it's not just us people that are infected too; it's everybody in the county that has any type of sludge. But we're looking at right now, we're getting a revised cost of maybe $1.3 million to construct a facility in San Andreas. And like I said, we're doing that because San Andreas is eligible for disadvantaged community funding, and that's what we're looking at right now. But
but if you paid the actual cost of disposal, that's $162,000 at least countywide.
Right.
$162,000, and if you're talking $3 million for a plant at
1.3.
a 6% interest rate or something's 180, you really aren't all that far off. You have to have some repayment of principal built
Yeah,
in
so
there.
you're
but
going up to 54, and right now, we can get a deal with Forward for 38 a ton. Okay, and it's a big, well, I know, we're looking at this. We had a deal with Forward before at around $20 a ton. Or
With whom?
Forward Landfill over in Stockton.
Oh.
And originally, when this whole thing came back in 2001, 2002, that's what we were using. It was around $15 to $20 a ton. We let that contract go. There's a big difference between Forward will take solids at 18% solids as opposed to you guys who take 50%. So it takes us, it's a little bit harder for us to do that. But the thinking back then was that you guys are going to be the long-term solution. That's why we notified the regional board. So we actually have to dry the sludge out, which we do. We do a semi-compost because obviously we have a lot of wood chips up here. We mix sludge at a 2-to-1 sludge ratio up here. We throw a little bit of air in there. We dry it and stuff, and it's like a static pile. Okay, so the stuff actually is compost that I'm delivering to you over this. It's pretty stable stuff. But, you know, if I want to build a big facility like that, I threw out, I don't know, 1.2 or whatever $1 million facility we'd need to do that. So you're looking at least $1 million, $1.5 million to put out any type of, and that doesn't include the operation cost either.
Okay, but I think when you do the calculations, you should be using $54 a ton as your disposal cost and not $6 a ton.
You got it. We can use 38.
Because at some point, I mean, when we go back out and ask for a fee increase for solid waste, it's going to be awfully hard to do that and say we're cross-subsidizing anything within that solid waste budget, that everybody's paying, you know, the true cost of disposal.
If you read the letter from CCWD and San Andreas, we said we understood that you guys needed to make a rate increase. I believe Angels Camp's got a little bit harder line on this where they don't feel that a rate increase is warranted. CCWD and San Andreas have never said that, yeah, we're drawing the line of dirt on the 633. We understand that your costs are going up, and what we've been requesting all along is if you're going to get $54 a ton, we'd like to see how you came up with that figure. That's what we've been asking for all along.
That's fine. I mean, we have to justify our numbers.
Yeah, you have to justify it.
We haven't published the numbers. We're not even talking about the numbers right now. We haven't discussed the numbers with the district. Well, the only thing we're discussing right now is the revised.
Okay, well, I'm for it. I'm for what's in front of us, and if somebody wanted to say, after investigate alternative long-term disposal solutions, that's fine with me also.
But
Yeah, I favor that language as well.
well, it says long-term disposal alternative, or alternative long-term disposal.
To investigate alternative long-term disposal.
It takes the thing that lit up some of the conversation out of the conversation, which would be a merciful thing to do at this point.
Merciful
Wait,
and necessary.
Tom, what's the difference between alternative long-term disposal and long-term disposal alternatives?
I suppose it would be the difference of getting this passed or not getting this passed.
Well, I think one of them implies that what we have is currently long-term, and we're looking for other long-term alternatives, as opposed to, we're not declaring what we currently have in place. We just want to look at alternative long-term solutions. So I don't know. I mean, leave it the way it is. It doesn't matter to me. All I want to do is get the wording such that the the Air Resources Control Board doesn't come in and challenge somebody's permit.
The only thing we're telling them in this resolution is there's going to be a fee increase at the end of June 30th, 2010.
We're not saying that. We're saying that this fee,
there's a possibility.
Yes, there is a possibility. The existing fee is good until that date.
Okay.
That's correct.
We are saying nothing else.
And these conversations, Bill, I had conversations with you. You asked me several months ago, we talked on the telephone, that we weren't taking your biosolids because the content of them exceeded certain percentages.
What's really starting this whole little ping-pong match here was we were set, the district for all set a letter saying it was like a drop dead date in June 30th. We would no longer be setting.
Yes, that was a mistake.
But started the whole thing. Then there was a correction was attempted to be made on the second go-around. And this is actually the third letter. We agree with the relaxing of the TPH, but we're still stuck on the long-term versus short-term. This is actually, and I know Tom's trying to work with us, and he has said he's been willing, he's got a will to be willing to meet with us, because the original 2 shots that were fired across the plow were just fired across. Nobody even knew they were coming, and we were given drop dead. That's actually what started this whole little discussion going back and forth.
Yes, it did.
You know, we're willing, like I said, we've been saying all along, we're willing to work with the county to try to come up with some solution. You know, we've been told, apparently off the record, that there was some report that came up with $54 a ton. So we've asked for a copy of the report, and now we're hearing some other things, but that's okay.
Who told you that?
That would be me.
Oh, okay.
That's a good person.
Getting close, still like to stay away. We just discussed it, basically telling us once again, this is short-term disposal, it's automatic.
Okay, if I can bring this back to a resolution here, or get it resolved, get this resolution resolved. Supervisor Tryon made a suggestion that I'm willing to support. Do we have a second?
Okay, the other whole thing we could do is just leave that finally, be it finally resolved out altogether. I mean, you don't really have to.
No.
Okay, she wants it in. Then my suggestion would be is have it say, be it finally resolved that the above-named agencies are again strongly encouraged to investigate alternative long-term disposal outcomes which do not rely on Rock Creek. Is that?
I'll second that.
Okay, then I'll make it as a motion as amended.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the revised language. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Certainly.
I'd just like to, I think that when we started going after this, having committee meetings regarding the septic receiving facility, we wrongly left the Public Works Department out, because if they indeed do go to this $54 per ton fee for the sludge, which is a byproduct of the septage, that will really just blow that whole deal out of the water. So I think we should probably have maybe just one final meeting with Brian Moss and Public Works Director so we can sit down and do the math. Because every time we've done the math, because we're out trying to seek a grant to build this facility, we've been using that $6 fee to make our per gallon charge, and this obviously will significantly raise that and probably make it undoable. So we should at least get everybody that's involved in the room for one last meeting.
Okay.
I think that would be a good idea, Jeff.
All right, we've had a request to take a short break here. Before we do that, Mr. Garcia, this elusive, maybe $54, maybe not $54 a ton, does that specifically, is that the figure for handling these biosolids? Maybe we should turn them into biofuel, but the biosolids, or is that everything? That's wood waste, yard waste?
A ton of garbage that comes into the landfill costs $54 a ton for us to.
Okay.
So that's the overall.
And since we're not using this as daily cover, it's treated like any other waste stream.
Well, then I have a question for you. Why did you come to us last week with a $4 per ton charge or change in the fees for
Cubic yard.
Cubic yard?
Cubic yard. $4 per cubic yard for wood waste. Wood waste is a different waste stream. We have alternative uses for that, hopefully biofuels.
But when you say a ton, are you talking dry ton, wet ton, or just however it shows up?
It shows up as a ton.
Just a ton through the weight, through the scale?
Right.
Okay.
And again, we are looking to our 5-year update to help identify and hone in on these numbers. And that's one of the things we're going to be working with the districts on. This $54 is an initial figure, and we hope to clarify that, hone in on it with this 5-year update.
Okay. When will we have a 5-year update from us?
We're hoping to have drafts of it by the end of the calendar year.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Bill, you used the number $38. Where are you getting the 38?
As a quote from forward, because obviously we can't sit back if you guys are really going to talk about having the districts take them out of the landfill anymore. We have to explore other options. Forward landfill is a field in Stockton there. People that we used to use prior to the resolution passed in 2001, 2002. I called those guys up, told Boston how much solid they generated. They came back with $38 a ton.
But you had transportation costs to that also, correct?
Yeah, you have to have transportation costs. We also did a map for us. It's like 10 miles 5.
Is that a dry ton? I mean, are we talking apples to apples here, or is it apples to apples? Okay.
Well, it might dry out a little bit more in those 10 miles.
But a ton of garbage is much larger than a ton of this material. This material is dense. It's like gravel. So, we're talking apples and oranges here, so we have to work that out.
I think your earlier suggestion that the parties actually get together in the same room and
What a
have this
concept.
conversation, that's a better venue than the speculation that's taking place here. There is no number yet that is specific enough to this substance to be able to bet any future on. So let's have that conversation first and get on with trying to get this done locally, together.
Quick question for Bill on the forward. The county landfill takes it at 50%. Dan, this forward, you need to dry it out more?
No, 18%. We have belt trusses that we put in the district, actually the sludge coming off the belt trusses, we can take the refuge to the pool. Pool is also open year-round.
Okay.
You guys get a limited time, 6 days a week, they got more hours. I mean, like I said, it's kind of ironic that we're back here, it's like the movie is re-showing in here. But I was back here the last time, we already had a contract with these guys. Now, basically, it looks like we'll probably end up having to sign some sort of agreement with those guys, at least the fall. Because they got 450 tons of sludge and copper right now that I need to move out of there. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do it by the drop dead date on the landfill. So I'm going to probably have to have it taken down to forward in stock and 38 bucks a ton.
Okay, thanks.
Well, if we
All right.
pass this, you can take it to Rock Creek, right?
It's passed.
Yeah.
It's
Did we
passed.
vote on it?
Yes. Yes. Okay, I would like to take a 10-minute break. Gentlemen and ladies, we're going to take a 10-minute break here.
We were unanimous and it was passed.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting back to order. Sorry about the slight delay. Anyway, we have, next on the agenda is item number 9. This is a discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of applicants to serve on the Commission on Aging, the Emergency Medical Services Oversight Committee, bless you, and the Calaveras County Mental Health Board. Okay, I see that we have one applicant to serve on each of the following: the Commission on Aging, representing District 4. We have Elizabeth Thompson.
I support Olivia.
Elizabeth?
Excuse me, Olivia. Elizabeth.
Okay. We have a motion on the Commission on Aging, Elizabeth Thompson.
Well, let's
Why don't we just
consolidate.
Let's do all three of these if there's no
I
objection.
support Brian Santos and Dennis Huberty for...
Second.
Okay, so we have Brian Santos, Dennis Huberty on the Mental Health Board, and Brian Santos on the Emergency Medical Services Oversight Committee. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion passes unanimously. All right. Okay, we have review of the correspondence, reports of various matters. Supervisor Tryon?
I just have one item I'd like to bring up. We have the final budget, I believe, on the 22nd.
That is correct.
I would like to have a study session on the week before the final budget and have you sort of go over and highlight what things are so that when the final budget comes, if the board wants to make some changes, we're not right up against the deadline. So it seems to me it would be nice to have sort of a preliminary view, et cetera, so if there is board discussion or if there are any board members wishing to change anything, we have some time to do it before it's just on as an action item.
So that would be for next week, the 15th.
The 15th.
Okay, are we available on the 15th for a study session?
It's too important a topic to elide over, so...
Yeah, we have plenty of time. The last item is 9:30 a.m. And then we have a closed session that we're holding all the time on Navy, so it seems to me we could have some just discussion as to kind of where we are.
Yep.
I support a study session.
Okay. So directed.
And to the extent that the Assistant County Administrator Shirley Ryan is listening to this broadcast, she can begin preparing now.
Get that, Shirley?
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Supervisor Walensky.
Let's see, I've got tomorrow the Calaveras Amador Consensus meeting with a CHIPS board meeting afterwards. I have the, I'll be going to the Suicide Prevention Vigil here on Thursday at 7 p.m. I will be attending the Rite of Passage graduation on Friday morning, and that's all I have to report.
Okay, Supervisor Toffanelli.
I will be attending the suicide prevention event going on Thursday at 7 here also. And then on Friday, I will be going to the Veterans Stand Down in Sonora.
Veterans what?
Stand Down.
Oh, I read about that. Okay, yeah.
I'll be attending that also on Friday. And that's all I have for board-appointed duties for the week. However, I did attend the logging jamboree on Saturday. And I had a partner. We had a team. And, we were entered in 2 events. One of them was the axe tossing event. And I thought it was great that Marita stood up there, and you get 4 tosses at it, and you get the best points out of 3 out of those 4 tosses. And I'm standing there watching Marita throw, and she's got the axe back here, and she gets back to throw it. Tom Tryon. She throws the axe. Then she pulls it back again, and she says, Russ Thomas throws the axe.
But she didn't hit.
She got 4 throws. I guess each of us were...
The axe didn't go very far. You guys are safe.
We have nothing to fear.
It's not good to teach Marita how to throw an axe.
But we got 8 points, and the Chamber of Commerce got 0 points. So we did defeat them in the axe tossing contest. However, when we got to the log sawing contest,
the log what?
Sawing contest, we were a little bit. They call it buck saw.
Buck saws, yeah.
We did saw a log. This is Marita and I's log, and once we sawed it and it fell on the ground, Marita was hugging it. Saying, I'm sorry.
That was before and after.
She made me save it. She wants to put it on the wall.
I think we should put it on the wall back there. I think we should put it right here above the general plan schedule.
But we didn't do too well. We got beat by the chamber on the buck sawing contest. So it was 1-1. But we're going to practice for next year.
So did you count the growth rings in that tree? Yeah.
No, I didn't. There's saw marks on it, though. I want to count the saw marks. I'll tell you, there was a lot of sweat sawing this log. It's not as easy as it looks.
I thought...
I don't know.
That's all I have.
I saw a lot of spotted owl feathers around it.
Oh, I did attend a Labor Day event in District 2 on Sunday. And I was encouraged, apparently 4 years ago or 3 years ago, that district up there in Mountain Ranch put on a community play in which Supervisor Walensky was involved in somewhat, and Mr. Jones was involved in. And they're all gung-ho to put on another play. So I thought I would bring that up to the 2 people who are sitting here that live in that district.
Going to get drafted, huh? You're going to be in it, too?
They were encouraging me to get involved in it also.
Okay, well, Supervisor Callaway.
I have Solid Waste Task Force tonight, appropriate subject. And this weekend, it's the Ebbets Pass National Scenic Byway annual event. And if you can make it to Hermit Valley, there'll be a lot of music. And the Arnold Rim Trail will have, at Cedar Center and Arnold, will have short walks by mountain bike, horses, whatever, over part of the Arnold Rim Trail we've been working on. I want to just mention that we are getting, for the Arnold Rim Trail, substantial amount of stimulus money. And we're quite excited about it. And in relation to what we've had to work to get Proposition 40 money, it's embarrassing. And I just find the whole bureaucratic process for Prop 40 countywide. I mean, and I'm more familiar with Ebbett's past projects. Totally embarrassing for what we've had to do to get the small amount of money for the projects. That's my editorial comment. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I want to acknowledge that I also went to the Jamboree, and it was very enjoyable seeing our two board members holding forth with the buck saw. There was a gentleman there who was the grandfather of Steve Kafka. I mean, everybody knows Steve, that he works with SPI. But Steve's grandfather was also doing yeoman's work on the buck saw at 93 years old. He was doing great. The announcer was saying that he is well aware that the senior Mr. Kafka has spent his life pulling on that stuff. And Steve said that he still personally cuts all of his own wood and splits it and stacks it and stuff. So
And their time was better than mine and Marita's.
You didn't have to say that.
I didn't, but I'm sure it was going to be said, so I said it first.
It's sad that you couldn't stay up with Marita.
I tried.
93-year-old.
I tried.
And I tried to get Russ to be the pitch hitter for me on the axe throwing. And
I wasn't used to
he said next year.
I wasn't used to the elevation and the and the amount of oxygen in the air.
Oxygen. Okay, Marita, the calendar that Madeline gives us here says that there's a CSAC director's meeting?
Yes, Tom's the alternate. He's going for me.
All right.
Yeah, she gave this to me. That's Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I will go.
Okay. I don't have any board-appointed duties this week. However, I will be attending the CCWD meeting tomorrow morning. There's about over a half dozen families in Rancho Calaveras that are surprisingly they're in between the points at which the CCWD water line ends. It's on DeLee Street. Anyway, they're out of water, and through Bill Purley's efforts on Saturday, he put a meter so that they could actually fill vessels, and I mean, many of them, they don't have enough water coming out of their wells to flush their toilets. So it's
How many homes?
I'm aware of 6. But anyway, I want to go and encourage CCWD to help out in that regard, to continue to help out. And plus, on Thursday evening, we're having a community meeting at the Jenny Lynn Firehouse about 6:30 to discuss that matter. But that concludes my report. Mr. Lawton, do you have anything for us this morning?
Only whatever county council wishes to say, and I will associate myself with his remarks.
I hate to disappoint, but I have nothing to report to you.
There you go.
Okay. You've been merciful on the doves this week?
I've been very merciful on the doves, yes. They've benefited from my bad marksmanship.
All right. Okay.
I'm the worst.
I want to point out to the board that we have several closed sessions scheduled here, so that concludes our public portion of the meeting today.